lot of people are talking about self-care. It's a really popular topic. But self-care looks a lot different when you're living with long COVID. It definitely isn't taking a bubble bath. I want to talk about strategies that have worked for me, most likely will work for you, but more importantly, to get you thinking about self-care for yourself living with long COVID. The most important one for us is thinking about pacing ourselves. Chronic fatigue and energy levels are absolutely central to long COVID. You may have heard people talk about pacing and energy in long COVID and in ME/CFS using spoon theory. Now, this is the idea that energy is measured in some type of quantifiable unit for ease of metaphor, and I think this idea came from a woman who was sitting in a diner trying to explain to a friend what it was like to live with ME/CFS. In this case, we use spoons as those quantifiable units. And yes, I do mean like a teaspoon or a tablespoon that you have in your kitchen. Most humans don't think about energy units because they probably wake up with 100, 200, possibly even infinite energy. But those of us living with long COVID, chronic fatigue, ME/CFS have a limited number of units. And the number that people usually use in spoon theory is 12. But of course, that can vary from day to day, depending on how you've been doing. For example, if you only have 12 spoons at the beginning of your day and you have to allocate them to the various tasks that you're going to do, they can run out very quickly. For example, it could take you 3 spoons to get out of bed, take your medications, get yourself some electrolytes, wash your face. It could take you a lot more spoons if you're going to try and take a shower or even wash and dry your hair. So if you only have 12 at the beginning of the day, you can see very quickly how your energy is going to run out. Long COVID and the chronic fatigue that comes with it is very much an energy problem. And if you don't pace yourself, you will find yourself in a position where you don't have any energy left. And if you are always running at a deficit, that is where you then get into week or month-long crashes. A lot of people forget that self-care is pacing, especially when we're used to being very productive, driven people who previously could do 400 things before it was even 8 in the morning. To ensure that we aren't depleting all of our energy, we need to work on energy allocation. And there are many clever ways to do that. First of all, thinking about what you need to do in a day and planning out what you're going to allocate your spoons to. If you know that it takes you 3 spoons to empty the dishwasher, and it also takes you 3 spoons to make dinner, probably you're not going to do both of those tasks on the same day. One day you're going to make dinner and leave leftovers for the rest of the week. Another day, you're going to empty the dishwasher. But even more importantly, there are probably lots of things that you do every day that are not necessary. We all set arbitrary standards for ourselves. The apartment has to look like this, it has to be tidy, it has to be clean, and it doesn't. An example that I saw a lot of people talking about on a Facebook group recently that I definitely relate to. The idea that you can't run the dishwasher without rinsing the dishes off first, and the particular person didn't have the energy to rinse the dishes, and so they couldn't run the dishwasher. Nobody says that you can't run the dishwasher twice or even 3 times. If that's what you need to do because you don't have the strength to wash your dishes first, absolutely knock yourself out. Those arbitrary standards that we have set for ourselves are not relevant anymore. If you want to recover from long COVID, you have to let them go. Something that I used to do back in 2021 when I was really dealing with extreme chronic fatigue was allow myself, if I had used something in my apartment, for example, nail clippers, to just drop them where I was and leave them there. We all probably had an arbitrary rule before: if you use something, when you're done with it, put it back where it lives. And yet I didn't have the strength or the energy to waste walking those extra 10 steps back to the bathroom. And so I would just drop things when I was done with them. And then later on, when I had more energy, I would put those things in a basket. And if I was going to the room where those things lived, I would take the basket with me and put them away at that time. So we're not endlessly walking backwards and forwards, wasting energy over and over. This is where I can invite you to think about what are the rules that you can have for yourself, not some arbitrary standard that society might have imposed on you, like only running the dishwasher once. Doing things that you don't need to will destroy your energy. You need to give yourself permission, and you need to give yourself grace. It's okay if your house is a total mess and if you haven't cleaned in months. None of these things are important. Even now, when I'm 95% recovered, the dishes that don't go in the dishwasher, I just dump them in the sink for the whole week, and then on Sunday afternoon, I wash them. I don't waste energy on things that I don't need to do. One thing that I've recently found myself thinking about is it really worth my energy taking the cushions off the bed when I go to sleep and putting them all back on again in the morning? Maybe I just don't need cushions on my bed. Also, if you live with other people, you may want to ask them to do certain things that they have the spoons for and you don't. This is not about being fair. It wasn't fair that we got long COVID in the first place. And when you're recovered, you can do things to even that out if you feel like you need to. But if there are other people who can help you out, have them empty the dishwasher, have them cook dinner, have them take things back to where they need to go. What is one way that you can work on self-care this week? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments below. I'm offering a course on long COVID recovery using polyvagal strategies. In the first module of that course, we talk a lot about energy, chronic fatigue, and how to pace. So if you've been thinking about taking your first step towards recovery, I highly encourage you to click the link below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a tolerable week.